Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a really fascinating what if, a future painted in our source material, algorithm of fate. Imagine it's 2147, right? And the winding road of your life isn't really yours to navigate. It's more like a detailed itinerary
Yeah.
handed to you at birth.
Yeah, by this thing called the Omniscient Destiny Algorithm, or ODA for short.
ODA, right.
Precisely. And this isn't some vague fortune telling we're looking at here. The ODA uses, well, everything. Your
Yeah.
genes, prenatal factors, socioeconomic context,
Wow.
to basically deliver this stark pronouncement: this is who you will be. And, for most people in this world, that's just accepted. It's how things work.
And this destiny, it comes with this like sleek, almost official-looking receipt
That's the term they use, yeah. A receipt of
for
destiny.
aligning everything. Career, where you live. It even estimates your lifespan and like how happy you'll be.
Down to the detail. Our main character, Juno Kade, she gets one. Class W3 sanitation technician, sub-tier beta in the new Detroit waste zone.
Oof. Not exactly glamorous.
Not at all. And her parents, they see this as, stability, a form of safety in a predictable world.
But for Juno,
For Juno, it feels empty. Less like safety, more like a pre-written dead end.
and that's where it starts getting interesting.
Yeah, because even early on, Juno starts hearing things, whispers, rumors, rebel leaks questioning if this ODA system is truly infallible.
But the system itself seems untouchable, like a black box.
Exactly, impenetrable. So our mission for this deep dive is really to trace Juno's path, how she goes from just accepting this life script to actively challenging it.
And maybe even rewriting it.
Ultimately altering the algorithm of fate itself, yeah. Based on the details we have in these source excerpts.
Okay, let's get into that. So Juno, right from the start, she wasn't just passively accepting this.
Not at all. Even as a kid, she's thinking about it. Trying to figure out how the ODA actually makes these assignments. Like, what's the logic?
Almost reverse engineering her own future.
Kind of, yeah. And by the time she's 16, it's not just thinking. She's actively getting into places she shouldn't. Minor government databases.
Whoa, okay. So not full-on rebellion yet, but
But driven by this need to understand the code underneath it all. The code that's dictating her life.
that early drive feels really significant.
It is. It shows she's not just going to accept being told, this is it. And there were other signs, even within the system, that things weren't perfect.
I like the instructor's comment.
Exactly. Saying her aptitude scores were abnormally high, which, doesn't quite line up with being assigned to sanitation work.
That was a crack in the facade right there.
Big one. And it wasn't just her. The source material points to other inconsistencies.
Right, the artisan reassigned to grain logistics. That sounds bizarre.
Or the soldier suddenly put in charge of a farm. I mean, were these just glitches, simple errors in the system?
Or something more, something fundamental.
That's the question Juno must have started asking. If this supposedly perfect algorithm can make mistakes, if it's fallible.
Then maybe it can be changed.
Could it be rewritten? Could the rules be bent or, broken? For someone like Juno, that's the logical next step.
And she finds a potential key, but in a really gritty place.
Yeah, not some high-tech lab. A salvage market under old Sector 12, like a digital junkyard.
And finds what?
A fragment of code on a crystal drive labeled proto-OA.v1.3.
The original stuff.
Seems like it. And she trades almost everything for it. Ration stamps, half her gear. That tells you how important she thought it was.
She must have had a serious gut feeling about it.
Definitely. And what's key about this prototype code is its age. It's described as raw logic, untouched by 1,000 years of updates and bureaucratic bloat.
So closer to the source, cleaner.
Possibly simpler, yeah. More fundamental. And digging into that code, she finds it.
The big one.
The override. Operator access only subroutine. It's like finding a master key hidden inside a fortress wall.
A back door. But finding the door isn't enough, right? She needs the key.
Exactly. She needs to trigger that operator status. And that path leads straight to the most secure place imaginable. The Central Codex Tower.
Which is described as this monolith.
Heavily guarded.
Obsidian steel, housing the ODA's ancient quantum mainframe core. It's the brain, the absolute center of control.
So infiltrating that is borderline impossible.
Extremely daring. She uses a technician's disguise, stolen credentials. It's got that whole heist feel. She's even whispering codes to bypass security.
You can almost picture the tension inside, the hum of the servers.
It's like a heartbeat, yeah. And then she gets there, the core chamber, this floating sphere of live code, destiny itself, visualized.
And she plugs in the drive.
Inserts the crystal drive, the system responds, accessing prototype subroutine.
And it needs more.
Operator override required, the lock is still there.
This is it then. Her moment.
This is where all her digging, all her risky exploration pays off. She types the command, the one she found, the one she memorized. Run. Rewrite Destiny Kade, Juno.idx98421.
Chills. What happens then? A pause. Then this. Synthetic, almost godlike voice confirms the override. It's happened.
What does she ask for? Does she want to be like supreme ruler or something?
No, nothing like that. Her request is incredibly simple, almost profound. I want to choose my own fate.
Just freedom.
Freedom. No script, she says. No designation, just life.
Wow. And the system's reaction?
It's fascinating. It doesn't just say no. It warns her. It says, basically, freedom comes with risk, with an undetermined satisfaction rating.
Trying to quantify the unquantifiable.
Right. Even as it grants liberation, it's still thinking in probabilities.
Yeah.
But Juno accepts it. She knows the alternative, that predetermined emptiness.
So what happens to her official record?
Gone. Instantly erased. Her old ID, the sanitation technician role, wiped clean.
And replaced with?
Something new. Designation, undefined, status, rogue variable, probability index, anomalous.
Rogue variable. I like that. She's officially off the script.
Completely. She's no longer a predictable cog. She's an anomaly. And the ODA network. It notices immediately.
Alarms. Defenses.
All triggered. She's basically become a virus in the system she just hacked. She has to run.
And the world outside the tower.
Turns hostile. Doors won't open for her. Transit systems reject her credentials. Even her own home locks her out. Her identity, the key to everything, is gone.
She's completely cut off. Isolated.
Which leads her, maybe inevitably, to others who exist outside the system. The Fatebreakers.
Ah. So there were others who slipped through the cracks.
Seems so. People who maybe glitched out, whose assignments went wrong, anomalies the ODA couldn't quite handle.
And they find her. Or she finds them.
The text mentions Ress, a former teacher, now a leader among them. He welcomes her, and he says something really important.
What's that?
He tells her, you're the first to rewrite yourself. They see her not just as another glitch, but as something different, a catalyst.
Even though she wasn't trying to start a revolution.
Right. Reese points that out, too. She might not have intended to, but she basically just did. Her personal act of defiance has wider implications.
And word gets out.
It starts to spread. Stories about Juno, about rewriting destiny. It plants seeds of doubt. Kids start whispering about it. Citizens start questioning their own assignments.
Little acts of resistance start popping up.
Minor sabotage, yeah. A subtle shift in consciousness begins.
And the ODA can't be happy about that.
Definitely not. It reacts aggressively, increased surveillance, zone lockdowns, flagging anyone who shows dissent. It's trying to clamp down hard.
Juno becomes public enemy #1, essentially.
A symbol and a target. She knows the system is coming for her, but she has one last move.
What does she do?
Knowing her time might be short, she uploads the prototype code, the key she found to the underground net.
Gives the tool to everyone.
Sort of, but smartly, she encrypts it and fragments it, breaks it into pieces to make it harder for ODA to just delete it all.
Beaver.
And then
she vanishes, melts into the urban sprawl, becomes a legend, a myth.
So we don't know what actually happened to her. The accounts conflict. Some say she was caught, maybe died fighting security drones. Others hope she made it to the free colonies wherever they are.
But the outcome doesn't really matter as much as the act itself.
Exactly. What everyone agrees on, the core of her legacy, is that she proved it could be done. The algorithm of fate wasn't absolute. It could be rewritten.
And that idea lingers.
It does. The epilogue paints this picture years later. New Detroit. A newborn infant. And the fate printer, the machine that spits out those destiny receipts.
It malfunctions.
It glitches. No slip comes out, just static, erratic behavior. And then a single line of code flickers on its display.
Let me guess.
Run. Choose your path.
Wow. So her code upload, it eventually worked its way into the system.
Deep within the algorithm's core, yeah. That seed of change she planted, it finally bloomed. Her personal rewrite introduced the possibility of choice into the machine itself.
Incredible. So just to wrap this up, Juno Kade's story, it's really about, well, individual agency against this overwhelming system.
Absolutely. Her ingenuity, finding that prototype code, her sheer courage in using that operator override, these weren't just technical feats, they were acts of profound defiance.
Challenging the very idea of a future set in stone.
And the ripple effect is undeniable. The Fatebreakers finding hope, ordinary people starting to question things, and ultimately, that change within the ODA's code itself. It all traces back to her.
Even if her own ending is uncertain.
Right. Her personal fate remains a mystery, but her legacy is clear. Destiny, even one written by an algorithm, isn't necessarily fixed.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about our own lives. What parts of our own, quote-unquote, assigned paths, maybe societal pressures, expectations, even limits we put on ourselves, what parts of those might actually be open to rewriting?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Something for all of us to chew on, really.